Hi guys, so let us continue from where we stopped in the previous session. I hope everybody understood what we discussed in the previous session as the basics to open up. In this session, I wish to start chapter number 1, which talks about quality control. But the fact that why quality control is essential that we have to clearly discuss. Apart from that, where should we implement these quality control aspects? That is a very, very important discussion, right? For which I would like to recollect again all the 8 steps that are involved in the audit. Audit goes into 3 stages, right? Stage 1, stage 2, 3. Stage 1 talking about planning and risk assessment. Stage 2 talking about performance and collection of audit evidences. And stage where we are talking about conclusions and reporting. For all this, we have what is called as a preliminary engagement activity. So, sure, you know these 8 steps, or this is the framework that we do in audit. If you have done CA Inter in this framework, it's great. Otherwise, it is important that you understand it now, which is exactly why I'm doing this. So, for those students who already know these 8 steps very clearly, it'll be a good amount of revision. So, I wish all of you would concentrate again, try and understand what these are. To start with, guys, we have step number 1. Step number 1 is always about agreeing to the terms of an audit engagement. Agreeing the TOE, as we call it, the terms of engagement. Now, this is very much discussed in standard number 210. So, where we talk about preconditions to the audit, right? We're discussing a little bit on preconditions, and then we are also talking about agreeing to changes in terms of any engagement terms. Do you want to change them? If so, how would you want to change them? What are those? They're all coming under this particular standard. Standard number 210 is one very important and basic standard to start off with. I'm pretty sure everybody is aware of it. And what should you do it in case initial audits? What should we be doing in case of recurring audits? All those are also discussed there. 210 has not been discussed anywhere in the final syllabus in full detail because they expect you to know 210. That should be one of the basic and the first set of standards that you should have learned. But like I said, after we finish this process, try and revise what those preconditions are, and I will give you an overview as to what we did agree in terms of engagement. So that is a very, very first step in the audit, because if you're not doing those, and if you believe that preconditions do not exist, standard goes on to say that you don't take up audit. And the reason why we are supposed to do 210 very clearly is to understand when can we say, okay, yes, we are now going to take up the audit, or when we will go ahead and say, now we don't want to take up the audit. So these things are pretty important. One needs to understand about the various nuances there, which is why 210 is a 5 part, very important standard. Then once that is taken care of, we are going to the second step, which is about obtaining knowledge of the client's business. In client's business, different clients have different sort of businesses, right? Now, if your client is a pharma company, their set of activities are quite different. If your client is a real estate company, their set of activities are quite different. So, like this, depending on each client, the work we do, the extent of testing that we do, and also based on the understanding of controls. Both these things are very much part of standard 315. If you remember, the standard has a very broad name, identifying and assessing the risk of material misstatement through obtaining an understanding of the entity and its environment. Where in the entity's environment, we also include internal controls, right? So, step number 2 is about obtaining knowledge of client business, obtaining knowledge of client's business. Obtaining knowledge of client business. This part we have a discussion in standard number 315, part 1. The standard, I mean, I say part 1 because I break that entire standard into a few parts. Part 1 talking about entity and environment. So, for your convenience and mine, so that we don't get any doubts later. I will, kind of write that for you here and keep. That is, when I say this part one, which is obtaining an understanding of entity and environment, because that's how the standard use the terminology. I will also give you. Okay, this is what we have, a clear breakdown of things here. So that is why I'm going in very detail. So these are things that you should know. And once you do this, you are expected now, like say at final level, you are expected to have more command on the content rather than knowing, yeah, there is some standard and all that. So these two steps, that is step one and two, these two put together, what are they called as? You know the title. These two, they put together, they are called as preliminary engagement activity. Preliminary engagement activity. Doesn't have any stage number or something like that. They are called preliminary engagement activity. Now followed by, there is the step number 3, right, wherein step number 3 is called as planning activities, wherein this is be called as the stage 1 of audit. When we are dealing in stage 1 of audit, that's when planning sparks in, right? After now dealing with what you call as the stages 1, be doing, okay, so this is the first part, first and foremost part. We'll kind of break it there. Now when it comes to 3, okay, now 3 is a very interesting stage, because in 3 we are going to discuss about planning and materiality. Two important things are being discussed there. Step 3 in audit is audit planning and materiality. Assess what items are material, what context is being discussed here, what items are material, how they are determining the level of materiality. Stand number 300 and 320. These two standards, they have a huge role to play in our understanding of these topics, because that alone is particular stage there. Now then comes certain interesting things in 4, 5 and 6. 4, 5 and 6 together, they have a name again. 4, 5 and 6, these three, they fall under what you call as stage 2. Here is stage 2, and stage 2 is called as performance planning and performing. While these two parts here again, 7 and 8, they fall under a category of stage 3, which is called as reporting. Very important to understand that the entire framework audit lies in what you see on screen right now. So the whole audit process as such, what you see there is what we are talking about. So in terms of what an audit process is, you see 8 steps are there. uh, and in those 8 steps, what come where, or what something that we are clearly discussing right now. Okay, so in this context, it is important for us to understand that preliminary engagement activities are to agreeing to the terms of audit engagement and obtaining knowledge of client business. Then comes 4, 5 and 6. Sir, between 6 and 7 you left some gap. There is a very important to be put there, which is why I kept that on hold. I will explain you as to what that is very clearly as and when we discuss that now. Okay, so 8 steps. Stage 1 planning, stage 2 performing. Now under performing we have 3 steps. That is, step 4 is performance of what is called as risk assessment procedures. Risk assessment procedures, which are covered in standards 315, part 2 and part 3, part 4, whatever rest of the 315 is there, the whole of 315 belongs to risk assessment procedures. Then followed by step number 5, which is called performing further audit procedures. Further audit procedures. And then in step 6, which again we are talking about, is called as audit documentation. Audit what? Documentation. Now, documentation, I have everybody knows, is something which is one of the most important context of audit. Right? No matter what you do, end of the day, it has to be documented. Because this very same documentation serves our future needs as to if at all there is any issue later, that if somebody blames that you didn't do the audit properly, or this is not conducted properly, can kind of defend ourselves. So right now, I'll just put up the standard number so that we are at convenience. The risk assessment procedures are discussed in standard number 315. Audit documentation is discussed in standard number 230, and I will say others. When I say others, there are a lot of standards towards which the end of every part of the standard there, it is going to talk about audit documentation. Every standard tells this is what you document at the end of the standard. So that, and then we have further audit procedures which are being discussed in SA 330, wherein we have compliance, substantive procedures, so risk assessment procedures and further audit procedures, compliance, substantive, then they are further divided. All these, when we go to the performing stage, that is when we collect audit evidences, we will discuss. Stage 1 is up with two standard 300 and 320. And here you have the whole lot of 315, 330, which is followed up by the whole of 5 series SA 500 to 580, and then you might as well want to use SA 600 to SA 620, the three standards. All these are standards which are very useful in what do you say, obtaining audit evidences. So all these are termed as audit evidence standards. The ones that you see here, you can call all of them to be audit evidence standards. So which is something important to understand. We will, like I said, we will do a glance of all those standards also in detail. So I hope everybody is following what we're discussing here. It's just an audit process, because once you know the framework, our entire module 1 helps us in understanding this one. Now, here's a very important stage. This stage, actually, this stage is not assuming a specific importance, or it's not mentioned as a separate stage. Only 3 stages are mentioned in any discussion of audit: planning, performing, and reporting. But after performing is done, that is when all the documentation is over and all of that, after this entire performing activity is done, and before you start reporting, there is one standard which is called as SA 450. SA number 450. Standard number 450 is a standard that talks about evaluation of a misstatement. SA number 450 is called as evaluation of misstatement. Now, in this evaluation of misstatement, what we are going to do is, whatever statement that you find during the course of the audit, whatever misstatements you find during the course of the audit, we'll take all of them and pull up into what is called as aggregate value of misstatement. If you recollect all these words, if you've studied at the inter level properly, you will recollect all this. So this is not a specific stage, this is intermediary between this and this. That is why this is titled as an evaluation stage. What are you evaluating here? Misstatements. Whatever misstatement that have been gathered during the course of the audit, take all of them, throw that into a basket. Aggregate value of misstatements. Take the aggregate value of misstatements on one hand, take the materiality on the other hand, to compare both. And when you compare both, if the aggregate value of misstatements exceed the level of materiality, did I say? If the aggregate value of misstatements exceed the level of materiality, then we'll call it the material misstatement, and then further we'll have to communicate to management and DCWG and see if they have taken any steps to reduce the impact of that, or if they have rectified the misstatement. If they have rectified the misstatement, then we will have to go about changing the version of what we do. Then you might have to come back again, and 230 says you have to document any changes that have been made earlier to the procedures and whatever. All of that has to be done. It's a very important standard. So when will you do 450? After stage 2 and before stage 3. So does it fall under performing an audit? No, it's not performing any procedures. Does it come under reporting? No, it does not have any reporting. Then what are you doing? Intermediate aspect between performing and reporting. which is called as evaluation of a misstatement. Okay, very, very important part of the discussion. And then to close out all this discussion, we have step 7 and 8. Step 7 is about forming, right? Step 7 is forming an opinion, while step 8 is there, which is about reporting. So, step number 7 and 8, forming an opinion, that is what it is. And step 8, which is titled as reporting. And in this context, we have all of standards 700, 705 in case it's a modified opinion, 706 and 701. All those 7 series standards which come for reporting, they all come here. Okay, so this is what we have as the entire 8-step audit process. Those of you who have done a CA Inter along with me, you know that this is the same chart that we prepare in the beginning of our syllabus to have a clear understanding of what the entire audit process is, and then we would have discussed all these standards to their extent. Now, it is time for us to understand all these in even more greater detail, trying to understand what the entire 8-step audit process is, followed by trying to break down each of these standards and phases, getting to know more in details of quality control, talk about independence. We are also going to talk about, because later we are going to discuss in the other module, we are going to discuss what is called professional ethics, where they keep on mentioning that auditors duties are this, auditors duties are that, if it's not if he's not doing that, it amounts to non-compliance. So if you know what to do and the order in which you are supposed to do, then only we can perform all this, which is exactly why we are talking about all these guys. And I thought, spending about 15 minutes is important for us to kind of understand important points, because these 15 minutes that we spent in doing this, they will be of high amount of importance, right? Because I can definitely get into chapter number 1, quality control, without spending this. Uh, but the initial 15 minutes of this class, you have heard me right, and you have a great clarity on what you call as this entire audit process. As I told you to note down, of course, I will be sharing this with you. That is of no doubt. But if you are preparing, I'd give you a minute here to just take down the entire thing so that you can have a clear understanding of that, and then can discuss it in much more and greater detail. So, for those who are noting it down, I might want to put it up in a little more detail here and just take it down there in full detail. Yeah.